Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'm going to be talking a little bit about hit and run OCD. I won't be doing a question and answers on here because I've got an appointment just coming up in a second. So I thought I would briefly just cover hit and run OCD, as it's a common topic that's asked all the time in the groups. And I was actually thinking about covering contamination OCD, but I decided I was having a shower and I thought to myself, I remember the time when I used to sort of basically be stuck in the shower with contamination OCD, and I was in there and I was thinking to myself, this used to take 3 or 4 hours when I was about 19 years old. I was really stuck in it, and I thought I've got to cover that subject, and I will be covering that subject later in the week. I will do that. I will cover contamination OCD in detail, but I thought I'd come on here quickly and do hit and run OCD. And basically with hit and run OCD, what I wanted to cover was that what happens is people will always feel like that was a real situation. They were just in a situation which was a real event. They definitely did hit somebody. They saw someone in the rear view mirror. They have to turn around. This time it's guilty. They can't leave it this time. If they leave it, they're going to be stuck because they'll be thinking about this for the rest of their life. If they don't get over this particular fear, it's going to ruin their holiday. It's going to ruin their day. It's going to ruin everything. And so that's basically what people with hit and run OCD start thinking, and it will make the sort of visual in the mirror seem like you saw something. It was there. I had one similar to that years ago where I was driving on a motorbike down the inside of a bus, which you're not supposed to do, and then I thought to myself, oh, what if I just clipped somebody? And then I thought I saw someone lying in the road, but I only thought that a sort of year later, and then it went back to that over and over again, which was a bloody nightmare for me at the time because I was replaying that incident so many times with no understanding of OCD. So hit and run's always going to do that. So you've always got to carry on driving. It's going to have various variations of how it's going to confuse you. It's going to confuse you with things like, what if you were listening to music too loud? What if you were still hungover? What if you were speaking to a friend? What if you weren't thinking straight? What if you had anxiety symptoms? That one used to get me. What if you were suffering from physical anxiety symptoms that took your eyes off the road? What other things? Like you might have been dazed or had your memory just sort of a little bit off because of anxiety. Those kind of sensations, that would often get me with hit and run OCD. And then there was various variations of that, like what if I have what was the other ones I used to get? There's so many variations. I was one guy I was working with recently who talks about his journey on here, Jagpal, and he had a contact lens fall out when he was on a motorway, and thought in that moment that he was definitely having a panic attack, or he was having a heart attack, or he was going to crash, or he was instantly about to die because he's very short-sighted, and then he got very scared of driving on motorways, and we had to revisit them again and again till he got back into a position where he was okay with that. But at first he definitely was not okay with that. And there's so many variations that people get very bad hay fever, itchy eyes, sort of a bit of water in their eyes or something like that. Or if they're on a motorbike, a visor, maybe a fly or something flies into the visor and they don't see it and they think, oh, it missed a blind spot or something like that. So many variations of these things is what OCD is going to go for. It's going to look for everything around that. And to do with that one, it does come back to the unconditional self-acceptance, absolutely, of accepting even if you did hit somebody and not writing yourself off, and really going into detail of how you could accept yourself even under those circumstances and be at peace with that, because people do have accidents. People do walk out where people weren't looking and then there was an accident, and then people, with no fault of their own, but then OCD is going to say, what if it was your fault? So we have to move in with the unconditional self-acceptance, which when I got under it, completely released that. But the main thing for that one was me really replaying those incidents as the internal compulsion so much. I had to get out of that. When I did the unconditional self-acceptance, then it helped with the automatic rumination that was going on in my head, bringing that down, which I couldn't stop, and the chronic guilt and so on that persisted for a long time. But a lot of it was me and the compulsions and going back to roads revisiting them, walking back round them, seeing how I could have seen the road at that period. Did I see it correctly? Would I have seen that? To replay incident. I mean, in worst cases, I see a lot of people coming in with people sort of getting out on a motorway and walking back to see if they did it, which is risky for their own life because they're so compulsively in that zone of wanting to get relief from anxiety and checking it. And you know, that's what happens with that kind of situation. Let me see if I've got a bloody charger here today. I know I had one, but I don't know where it's gone. I don't want it to run out. So yeah, I think with all of the hit and run OCDs, it's key to read the first book, get the theory covered in the first book, and the Albert Ellis Myth of Self-Esteem book. And it's the compulsions that you're doing. You've absolutely got to stop that checking, replaying the road, replaying things, and doing things to keep yourself too alert. People do that all the time. They don't drink any. They drink lots of coffee, so that if they think they're going to be too tired, they keep all the windows down, so it's like bloody Antarctic in there, because they don't want to for 1 second feel out of control or tired. So the whole thing's like pumped, sort of freezing cold. The music there'll never be any music on. They won't have any conversations. All these avoidance techniques to stop themselves getting spiked. And you need to spike. You need to get the trigger. That's what you need to go after. You don't want to avoid that. That's key. And I always stress that to people. You know, you want to be going straight towards the fear, not running away from it. And you've got to drive. Don't give up driving. People come to me and they're spending $1,200 a month on Ubers because they've given up driving and got themselves into debt. And I say, forget that. It's a ridiculous idea. You have to drive. And usually, anyone, when they get into it in the first or second day, they very quickly start to realise how much that was getting a hold for them and how much that was gripping. So I think that's absolutely crucial that there's no avoidance down there. I will cover this subject in a lot more detail. I'm trying to think of the other areas it gets in. Bumps in the road. Sort of people thinking, I've just gone over a bump. What if that was someone I've ran over? OCD will always interject like a millisecond before you think. So it will make you think, if I'd just done that 1 second ago, if I just thought that a second ago, I could have stopped it. But you can't, because it's happened in your head. You wouldn't be able to have done anything 1 second before, because it jumps in before you and makes you feel like you didn't jump in a second earlier. So it's manipulating that situation. Yeah, I'll cover the questions on the next Instagram Live. Guys, I will see you shortly I think I'll do the next subject I'll be doing is contamination OCD. We've got the group calls this week on particular subjects of ROCD, POCD, and existential OCD. So if you suffer from any of those, please come along to those. Those are one-off ones we're doing on those individual topics, and then we're going to be covering various other topics over the next few months. So if you've got stuff from those themes, please come along to those. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.